welcome back to the Craft Castle. My name is Ashley, and holy cow, did Xtool come out with the coolest, newest update for their Xtool program. I'm telling you right now, the newest feature that Xtool has come out with is a laser artist's dream. And I know if you're not a laser artist, you're probably gonna think that this next feature is super silly, but I have been a laser artist for 4 years now, and I can tell you right now, being able to do this with a click of a button is absolutely a game changer and so time consuming. Now, let me set up the scenario for you. You get a brand new piece of material. It's not listed under the Xtool materials, and you have no idea what settings to use in order to get your machine to cut, engrave, or even score. So before Xtool came out with something like this, what you would need to do is you would have to put in like a circle, and you would have to do a whole bunch of test cuts until you found the perfect setting, which took a lot of time. The alternatives is that you can buy a file that people have already set up that you could do something like this, or B, you could set it up yourself. I can tell you right now that setting up one of those files is painstakingly long, and no thank you. So the newest feature that Xtool came out with is something like this, where you can do in a click of a button all your test cut settings. You don't have to adjust anything, absolutely nothing. Okay, now let's go to the computer where I can show you how we're going to use this feature and how time saving this is going to end up being for us in the long run. I'm so freaking stoked. Okay, so first I am going to put in just a random piece of material. I have no idea what settings I'm supposed to be using for this. So this right here is some glittery green acrylic. I'm gonna place that in the middle of my bed and just shut my lid. So then over at Creative Space, you can see that my material is already in the bed. If this didn't pop up for you, you would just wanna press that refresh button, and then it's going to capture the image. The next thing I'm gonna do is come over here to thickness, and I'm gonna put this box anywhere on the material that I want to use, and then you wanna click. So I'm going to set this as user-defined material. I'm not going to change it to any type of acrylic or anything like that. So let's say that I wanted to cut this acrylic and I didn't know what settings to use. I would come over here into insert and insert a circle, and I'm just gonna make a circle here on my page. Okay, because it's easier to see, I'm just going to bring this circle up here, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to select that circle, and I want it to be a cut. Then what I'm going to do is come over here to array, and I'm going to go to material test array. Now you can set your power and speed parameters if you wanted to. You could also add more rows if you wanted to get more random settings. I just like to keep it the way it is and press OK. This box is going to pop up. Now you technically don't need to do anything to it because all the lettering and these numbers are all going to be scored, and then these random circles, those are going to be cut. So all I want to do now, because I don't want to waste a ton of material, I'm just going to make it smaller and I'm going to put it onto my piece of material. Now at this point, what you want to do is press process and press start. At your machine, you want to make sure that your vent fan is on if you're using the external vent fan. Then you want to press your button on your laser. Now you want to make sure that you babysit the laser. We don't want to fire. Now here's the coolest part. As you can see that I have some really good cuts right here. And this one right here, it cuts, but like it doesn't want to go through, right? So what that's telling me is maybe this one right here is going to be one of the best cuts that you can get with this particular material. Now it's gonna be super hard to read on this type of material because it is clear, but we can go and check exactly what setting this was on our computer. So we are gonna do bottom row in the middle. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to place this back in, and I am going to do another one that is for engraving. So let's just put this back in, and we're going to remember it's the bottom row to the middle. I also would like to note that this test grid took 2.5 minutes to do, which is absolutely phenomenal because normally this would take me hours to try and figure out the perfect settings. So even before we hit OK, the bottom row and the middle was speed 10, power 55. So because this particular material, it's super hard to read the actual, like what was engraved on there, what I would suggest doing is making a file on your computer that you can jot down your speed so you can reference next time, so you don't have to do this grid every single time you do this type of material. Okay, so now let's go and do an engraved one. So I'm gonna press OK. And all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to undo until I get back to my original circle. So I am going to click my circle and I am going to go over to engrave. And then I'm gonna go over here to array and material test. Doing the same thing I did before and just press OK. Now this right here is an engrave test. So now what we need to do is press refresh on our P2. I want to make sure and do an autofocus again onto our material. Okay, now that we have that done, you just want to take this right here and put it onto your material, and we are going to make this smaller so we don't waste a whole bunch of material. Now what we want to do is just press that process button and then press start. Doing the same thing we did before, you want to make sure your fan is turned on. And then you just want to press the magic button. The engraving one definitely took a lot more time than the cutting one did. That's because it does take longer to engrave. This one right here took a total of 22 minutes. But you can see that even if I do engraving, certain ones are going to punch right through my material, and obviously like these ones are going to be like way too deep. So the cool thing about this is like this is obviously going to be a poor representation of what an engraving would look like on acrylic, but let's say you were doing a piece of wood, you would really be able to tell like what setting would be perfect for the material that you're going to be using. For this one right here, if I was choosing to engrave this, I'd probably go with this one right here because this one seems to be the one that pops the most for me. I'm not quite sure what I would use. What would you use? Okay, so I need to know, what do you think about this newest feature? Do you think that this is amazing or what? I personally think that this feature is going to save us so much time trying to perfect our settings, and then we can get back to doing what the most important thing is, and that is crafting. All right, y'all, I sure hope I was able to teach you something new today, and I will see you on the next one.